The Extreme BPM, Tuesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. East African time. That's when we get to talk to people that make the music, but I always encourage you and implore you to listen to the Aegis Mix Show, because then we get to play more of the music and do less of the talking. So more of the music on the Aegis Mix Show. That is 1 to 2:30, 3 p.m. Depending on the days. Fridays, I like to hang out with you more, so we get to do 2 hours. But Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. East African time, that's when we get to do the Aegis Mix, which I always implore you, because that's more important. Check out the music and go stream it, add it to your playlist and all that. And then Tuesdays and Fridays, we listen to stories that are behind some of the songs we get to listen to during the week. So today on the show, she's back on the show. The last time we talked, she had a brand new EP out that was Hummingbird, and as we are talking right now, she has a brand new album that has an interesting title. The title of the album is Black Sea, and that will be, as you're listening to this, it's already out, so go stream it, go check it out. Her name is Sonia Elisheva. She's back on the show. Welcome to the show. How are you doing? How have you been since we last talked?
Hi, thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, it's really good to see you again. And yeah, I've been good. Yeah, it feels like a lot's changed since we last spoke in 2021, but yeah, very happy to be here.
Yeah, a lot happened. We dealt with the pandemic then, and then we got onto the other side. Then now the world is full of many things now. Now there's politics, there's all these things going on.
Yeah.
And interestingly though, because what is your background? Because what that will lead us into something I want to ask you about, some of the efforts I saw you trying to put forward to try and provide relief to some of the people that were going through a tough time, some of the refugees that had to flee their country from Ukraine and all that. But where does this tie all into you?
Yeah, so my family heritage is a little complicated. So my mum is English. I was born and raised here in England, but my dad has a very mixed background. So he was born in Kazakhstan and was raised in Estonia, later lived in Russia, and my grandparents were from Ukraine, near the Black Sea. And at the time, that was all the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist anymore. I have family in Russia. I have family in Ukraine. And yeah, of course, the war has been extremely difficult. I, of course, like for everybody, I'm in a privileged position in that, of course, I live here in England. But yeah, it's a terrible thing to have to, that people are going through right now. And so, yeah, that definitely has been in my mind whilst creating this record.
Yeah, and speaking of, since you said, your grandparents lived near the Black Sea, which is the title of the album that you have, what was the reason naming this Black Sea?
Yeah, it's called Black Sea because Black Sea is a metaphor for identity, and the Black Sea doesn't belong to anyone. It's the sea between Russia and Ukraine. And I wanted to use that as my album title because that's how I feel as well. I feel I don't belong anywhere. And I think we're living in a society that is very tribal at the moment. And it's all about you have to identify, into a group or into a culture. And I personally don't feel I fit into any one group or culture or anything like that. And I don't want the pressure. I don't feel I should have to succumb to the pressure of it. So Black Sea is kind of my own personal statement saying you're not going to put me in a box and define me and tell me who I am and where I'm from, because I don't belong anywhere.
And why do you feel like you don't belong anywhere? Is it because of all that mixed background that you live in England, your father is from born in Kazakhstan, and then your grandparents Ukraine, Russia, and all that?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just having like a mix of culture in my background. And yeah, I think I've often felt sort of more on the outside looking in rather than feeling fully, from one place. And I have actually spoken to a lot of other people who also have mixed cultural backgrounds. And yeah, a lot of people seem to resonate with that actually, of kind of feeling a little bit on the outside. And so, yeah, that felt important to me to express in the music.
Yeah, and I think it's a real thing that usually isn't talked about more, because usually what happens is one side feels like you're not doing enough to fit into that category, and then the other side feels like also you're not doing enough either to fit in that category, and both sides are totally different. So you always feel like, where do I get you're in the middle here and thinking which direction should I go into, and I think you're always left in the middle there, stranded on where, which side to to belong to, as they say, quote unquote.
Exactly. Yeah, that's you've summarized that really well. Then that's exactly the feeling, and that's the point of Black Sea, is to say that it's okay if you feel like that, and you actually don't need to belong anywhere if that's not how you feel.
Yeah. So Black Sea has about 13 tracks, but there's an interlude there from your dad.
Yeah, it's from my dad. Yeah.
So first, talk to me through the process of making this. What does this album mean to you? It's a debut album, I know that's a big deal for you, but what does the album mean to you in terms of the process of making it?
It's been a really beautiful experience making this album, really therapeutic in many ways, and I feel that I've really understood who I am as a person and as an artist in the process of creating it. And I've been able to work with some really amazing collaborators, producers. And I think it's just been, therapeutic is probably the best word. Just like examining my own cultural background, learning more about what happened to my family. And one of the conclusions, I suppose, that I make on the album is that in the end, your identity is really just it comes from everyone who was in your history, your family history, who came before you, and you're just made up of all of their stories. And that's how I actually feel that I can identify myself, and how I understand myself better is by learning about what happened to my family.
And what did you find out during the process of making this album?
Well, I think I was talking to my dad a lot, which is why I included one of the conversations on the album. That was really important to me, because I think what he says in that interlude is really like significant. And I think it was just understanding how terrible and how difficult life was for my family living in the Soviet Union. They were Jewish. They are Jewish. And so there was a lot of discrimination, a lot of anti-Semitism. And it was really, really difficult to survive there. And I think a lot of people in the West maybe aren't as aware about that. And I actually think I wasn't as aware about that until I really started asking my dad more and more questions about what life was really like. And so, I think understanding that was just really important for me as a person to, kind of gain a better understanding of myself, and what has happened to my family is, in the end, it still lives on in me.
Yeah, that's interesting. When we were talking I remember the last time we had a conversation with Hummingbird, you always talked about, when you're writing, how it is through your experiences and through, certain things you go through in life that kind of inspire what you are able to think about or write about. Yeah. Now, the interesting part is I saw another interview where you talked about you used to write about terrible relationships. And then now you're in a much more stable relationship, and it's kind of like, now what do I write about? Why can't it be that you can write about how good it's going now?
I think there is room to write about that. I'm not really a love song kind of writer. I think I don't really have. If you look through my catalogue, you won't find many love songs on there. I just I don't know. I think I prefer to write about more difficult. I prefer to touch on more difficult topics, and this was a challenge. Black Sea was a challenge because I'm addressing kind of like some pretty deep topics within that, but it's still a dance record. It's an electro swing dance. Record. It's fun, and I think that was a good challenge, trying to express those topics in a fun way. But maybe on the next album I'll do something a bit more more of a love song. But I don't know. It's not really me. I just don't write that kind of music.
Yeah. Well, because I always find it fascinating sometimes with people that, because I can understand it somehow a bit, because usually most especially like sometimes when I'm involved with some people in some projects and stuff, and I can see where that is coming from. But it's always interesting that it's always easy to draw from a certain thing, and then when the conversation changes to something else, it's tough now to draw from that. Yet it's actually their reality at the moment, but it's always like hard to write from it. Like I know of a duo who are married and making music together, but it's easy for the lady to write about songs about past bad relationships. And I'm always like, doesn't that create a different atmosphere with the new relationship? If you're in the studio writing about that, and this topics are always around that, and it comes to a point where you have to agree and see how, if you're going to create music, let someone do the best they can do and where they flourish most, which is writing about what is more comfortable for them to write about. Not that the topic is comfortable, but it comes natural for them to write about.
Yeah exactly. Yeah, and I don't know, I think I prefer to write songs which have, which are a little darker but wrapped up in like a fun song. And I think I feel more inspired by it when things go wrong, or when I'm examining, difficult topics. I actually feel much more inspired to write than, I'm just not a happy music writer, I think. I just, but maybe I'll change. Who knows, on the next record, maybe.
Yeah. So Black Sea, which is the album that is out right now, guys, that you can go and check out on all streaming platforms. On that album, since these last few years, with everything that has been going on between Russia and Ukraine, and you have people from both areas, how did that affect how you approach this? Because when you're writing about your background and how what these places mean to you, and even pulling influences and all that, did that come into play when you're writing this project, in terms of how you will approach it and what direction you will decide to take in terms of addressing that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's a very, very sensitive topic, obviously. And I thought very deeply about how to express this in a way that's respectful, because I'm very, very aware of, how people might interpret things, and I understand the sensitivities. So I made a very I thought very, very carefully about all the songs and how I was going to address this aspect of Russia and Ukraine. But I think it's important to say that the album is not about the war, and it's not actually about politics. That has inspired me to think about it, but it's my own personal story of my own identity and what's happened to my family. So I think it's important to say that I know people's mind will go to the political situation, but the album actually isn't about that.
And I think it was important to bring that out, because when we talk about even usually sometimes I think we have the one monolithic way of looking at things these days most of the time. Like if you do like efforts to raise awareness or provide relief to people that are going through a tough time, that are moving leaving their homes and moving to other countries to find some peace, people might interpret that as you advocating for whether aggression or anything like that, but they forget the fact that you're actually caring about some people that actually need the help at the moment. And I think even us, we made like a conscious decisions. We're like, we didn't even need to talk about it, because we're like, this is a music environment in which we operate in. And whereas it's a music environment, it's also, a place where people that are musicians also have things going on in their life. So I remember one of my friends asked me about how I approach, let's say, if someone from a different country sends me something, do I view it, or do I view it based on how countries feel about each other? And I said, I never approach music or creativity from that aspect of it. I'll have a Ukrainian artist on the show, and I've done, and I still do. And if a Russian artist comes on, I'll still have them on the show. It doesn't mean that both of us, we are like supporting something. I'm giving a platform to someone who has a voice to say something. I don't promote anything in between, whether it's escalating anything on both sides, because there are people living, there are actual people, actual human beings that have nothing to do with this. For example, you're writing about your family background, your family history. You're trying to understand the background of yourself. Just like how I would have Arabic music on the show, but then from people from Iran, I've had some, I think 2 Palestine artists on the show also, and we've played music on, and then I've had on people from Israel, and who have brought songs, and we've played that on the show, had conversations on the show, but it doesn't center around that. Actually, what we bring more is, this is where we come and have conversations that don't have to be influenced by, negativity and all. And even then, when we have them on the show, none of them is like promoting anything in terms of, I hate, no one is promoting hate, which is, I feel like it's so bad that we have to explain this, because, it's this is, for example, it's an album that talks about history, but we have to explain that, hey, this has nothing to do with anything going on. And Yeah, exactly. It's very unfortunate that we're living in a time where that does need to be explained, but it does. And it is really important to say this is not promoting or supporting anything political. This is really just about my own personal story and the story of my family, who were not, most of them unfortunately have passed away now from my dad's side of the family. And so they're not even here to see this current war. So it's really not about that. And music at the end of the day is an expression, and it goes so far beyond politics and so far beyond like hatred. And there's a song on the album called Sweet Escape, and it's literally about that. It's just about actually saying, I don't want to be caught up in this sea of hatred. This is not who I am. It's not what I would advocate for, and I'm not going to participate in it. My way of dealing with the terrible things that are going on in the world is through music, and that's why I've made this album. And that song Sweet Escape is about using music and art as a means of escaping from the realities of the politics we're living in. So I think it's important to say that. Yeah, and let's talk about how much fun you'll have performing these songs, because when I started listening, and another thing which I would ask, because as I was listening to them, I also still listen to songs in the sequence that they're written in, right? So if it's 1 to the last, that's how I listen to it. That's how I like listening to albums. I don't like skipping in between. So when you're writing this, did you also like envision how the performance would be like? Because I've had instances where people have written songs, and when they're in studio, it sounds fun and everything, and then it gets to the performance, and it's like an uphill task now. Not that they can't sing it, but they made it so hard for themselves, because when you get to the stage and you're involving people and you're communicating, trying to create a connection with people, it's a different thing. So how did you envision you performing these songs? Because it's a high energy album. That's off the rip. So so I can imagine, did you have any thoughts of how the performances would look like? Because I'm sure you'll have some performances when this comes out.
Yes, it was something that was on my mind as I was creating it, and I knew that I wanted to make something that's really fun, high energy, because that's the kind of performance I give. I do a very high energy performance, so it was important that the music did match that. But it was very interesting in the process, because actually, as I was writing the songs for the album, my live show was also changing at the same time. So when we last spoke in 2021, my live show was very much jazz-based, very soulful. It was much calmer, and the music, of course, was a lot calmer. And since then, I've really gone on a journey with the live shows. So I had like a big swing band that I was performing with, and it was very jazz focused. And then the last year, I've sort of come away from that a little bit and moved into electronic. And so as I was writing the album, I was also working and developing on the live show and changing the live show to actually match the music as well. So it's quite interesting how they kind of going together. And I've also had to change the way that I sing and the way that I train my voice, because the performance is so different now. And I wasn't used to it, and I found it quite difficult breathing, because it's so different singing a jazz song where you're standing still and then being on stage dancing around and trying to hit the big notes as well. So even my training for my vocals is different now, and I do a lot of exercise, and I'm at the gym and running and singing at the same time to practice, because I think you have to do that to be able to give the performance I want. That's the training I do, basically.
Yeah, and even when you're doing more of the jazz, I think most of the compliment that you always got was the voice, and I know it takes a lot to deliver that. Now, when you have to do that at a high-paced performance, it might be quite challenging.
It's hard, yeah. And I think I hadn't thought about that before. It didn't really cross my mind. I think I just assumed I'd be able to sing the same way whilst dancing around on stage, and I was absolutely wrong. And so, yeah, that was an interesting lesson that I've learned as I've gone along, and it's, still something I'm working on now, because I would like to match the vocals, of course, with the performance, and I will never compromise on my voice. Like, I need to deliver a good vocal performance, so it just requires different training than I'm used to.
Yeah. Now, did you also get a choreographer?
For the stage, I don't have a choreographer. No, just choreograph it myself. But I think actually I'll work with my band on that, because I feel like they'll be really good at coming up with some creative ways to perform. And I've seen a lot of live shows lately which have inspired me, and I have a few ideas of what I want to do.
Yeah. What are you listening? Quick, the album that is out right now, guys, is Black Sea, coming in from Sonia Elisheva. Go check that out. It's available everywhere you stream music. Go check that out, add it to your playlist, and stream the album. All right, 13 tracks, but there's an interlude in there. But I think your dad was also on another song at the start, right?
He's on Papa's interlude. That's the only track which he's on. There is another spoken interlude. Maybe you're talking about that. That's from my cousin.
Oh yeah,
that was from my cousin. Yeah, and she speaks Russian on it. I didn't do that.
I almost told you that. Yeah.
My Russian is really bad. So my Russian is not. My accent's horrible. So I asked my cousin if she would do it, and she did it for me. And also, I think it's really nice to have my dad and my cousin on there.
Yeah, and so I was going to ask. So what? As you're making this album, what is on your playlist?
Oh, it's like such a random mix of music. So obviously, like, electro swing artists have been a big inspiration for me. So artists like Power of Stella, Caravan Palace, Cara Emerald, they've been definitely big inspirations for me, especially because they kind of have done electro swing, but have also gone out of the genre and actually combined with lots of other genres. And I think that was important for me to be listening to, because that's exactly what I wanted to do as well. So the roots are in electro swing, but as you'll hear when you listen to it, there's many influences from many genres on there. So I think those three have definitely been, I was listening to a lot of those three as I was creating this.
Yeah. And now, what do you enjoy more? Because, when you're performing and then when you're creating, these are two different worlds. When you're creating, it's a couple of you in studio trying to work things out, and you and your producer, or you and other people that you probably might write with, or any other people that are playing instruments. But on stage, it's a whole different approach. So what do you enjoy most?
It's difficult to say, because I genuinely love both. I'm a performer, so I think like my favorite place will always be on the stage, and that's where I started, was just going to jazz jams and performing in jazz bars and open mics and things like that. So I think in my core, I am a performer, and I love the live show very much. But actually, one of the differences between creating this album and doing Hummingbird, for example, is how many collaborators I've had on this album. I've been able to work with producers in their studios, which I didn't do last time. When I did my EP, I mainly worked on it by myself, and with the producer, we worked remotely. So it's been a completely different experience this time, but I've really, really loved it. And I think the process of being in the room with people has become really important to me. And actually, I just had a lot of fun doing that as well, which I never thought I would enjoy it actually as much as I have. I've always thought I just loved the stage, but no, I really love both. I love being in the studio and performing.
Okay, and so as we're almost wrapping up, I know, and for anyone listening in right now, I still implore you to check out the album. You're still listening to the Extreme BPM on eJazz Radio and eJazz Extra. That is 8 p.m. East African time, when we get to talk to people that make the music. So, and if you're listening on the podcast after that, if you missed the show, well, we'll have you too listening in on the podcast, but would like to implore you to listen into the live show, because then you get to listen to also the music as we play some songs of the album. And this is where I ask you, what 2 songs are we playing off the album?
Ooh, I think we need to play Dark Eyes, first single that was released and one of my favorites. And I'd like to play Sweet Escape.
Sweet Escape.
Yeah.
And so right now we are playing Dark Eyes and Sweet Escape. On the eJazz Mix Show, not the eJazz Mix Show, the Extreme BPM. The eJazz Mix Show is Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. East African time, where we shall also play other songs of the album. But right now, Dark Eyes, Sweet Escape, all from the album Black Sea, coming in from Sonia Elisheva, right here on the Extreme BPM. So the Extreme BPM, you're still listening into eJazz Radio and eJazz Extra. We do this Tuesdays and Fridays. Still hanging out with Sonia Elisheva. Check out her brand new album Black Sea, that is out where you get music, all right? And if people, because usually, where would you send them first? Some people would usually prefer sending people to Bandcamp if they like to, purchase, because we know the streaming people will love you so much, but we know Bandcamp usually helps the artist more than, some of the streaming platforms. But where would you send them first?
Bandcamp is great. I would send people to Spotify, just to check out the whole catalogue of work, and also my Instagram. If you listen to the album, if you have any thoughts, send me a DM. I'm always happy to hear people's feedback. So yeah, give me a little follow on Insta, or listen to the music on Bandcamp or Spotify, wherever you listen to it.
Okay, so we're going to get into the quick fire. This is where I ask you a few questions and you answer that quicker, and then let's see. So before you perform, what do you do first?
Put on my gloves. I have to put on gloves to perform. Like it's part of my show. I always wear gloves when I perform.
Why is that?
It started off as a fashion choice, just to include a vintage element of my outfit, and then it became a way for me to actually go into the performer zone, and it's become kind of like a ritual that I do now. So when I put the gloves on, I feel I'm about to become Sonia the performer. Yeah.
Another one. So now, quick one. What has been the most challenging part of you performing since you started performing with your band? This is not the jamming part. This is when you started performing professionally as, Sonia Elisheva.
Well, probably, I would say, the breathing techniques from now doing the energetic show. I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think that's been quite hard, trying to do the vocals and dancing on the stage at the same time.
Any craziness that has happened on the stage as you're performing?
I haven't fallen over, which is really good. Any craziness? Well, last show, actually, the pianist from my band threw a packet of crisps at me. It was actually part of the choreography. And then I threw it out into the audience. I think we might make that a thing from now on, always having crisps.
Okay. And what, apart from the gloves and everything, do you ever get nervous before you get on stage?
Yes, I always get nervous. I know some people say they don't, but I do every time. It doesn't matter. I've been doing it for a while now, and I always am nervous because I care, and it means a lot to me. Yeah.
But if you don't get nervous at all, I
don't believe it anyway. I feel like everybody does a little bit. Anyway, it's not a bad thing. It means you care.
Yeah, even me going on set, even if I'm going out to DJ or something, even when I'm starting to DJ for the show and stuff like that, I always feel like, what do I do first? So it's always like, how do I start? So it's always like that in my mind, and I still, and when I
I'm fearing the worst things in my head. I'm like, something terrible is going to happen. I don't know, I always think the worst, and then I get on stage and it's fine.
Yeah. So the last one would be this is your debut album, and which is called Black Sea, if you're listening in right now. What do you feel you wanted to do on this album that you didn't get to do?
something that I haven't done on it that I wish I had,
Yes.
or that I wanted to. Maybe included a ballad. I think it would have been interesting, or like more of a jazz song on it. I think I didn't do it because I just didn't think it fitted in with the rest of the record. It would have been an outlier, but at the same time, it would have been like a nice nod to my jazz roots to do something like that, or to just do something more that focuses just on the vocals, such as a ballad. But yeah, didn't do it this time.
And do you have a favorite song of the album?
A favorite song?
Yeah.
It's like asking me to pick what's my favorite kid. I don't know, and it changes as well. I really like the intro. I think that's kind of like, it's very, I think people won't expect it. Yeah. And I actually just had so much fun making that. And me, the producer, Joe, we just had, and Andrew as well, who also produced it. We had a proper laugh making that one. So yeah, maybe the intro.
Okay. Well, for people that want to check you out, where would you send them, and what are the links that they can get to you faster?
So on Spotify, Instagram, Apple, anywhere that you listen to music. And you can find me, Sonia Elisheva. It's difficult to spell, but it's not the easiest stage name.
If you're listening in on the podcast, though, we shall attach the links to the socials and all that in the description, so you'll be able to get to get those easily. But the album that is out right now, Black Sea, coming in from Sonia Elisheva. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show, and it's been great having you back on. And we can't wait to see what I won't ask you what's next, because the album is out right now, so there's a project here. So guys, go check that out and support the music, add it to your playlist, and all, do all that, right? Check out our socials, follow her, and one last thing. I saw you gave people advice on how to... No. Actually, it was your own self. You said how you were satisfied with the product that you were able to deliver, which is the album. Mm-hmm. And you said you are comfortable that you don't feel like how it's received will affect how you feel about the whole entire project, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then you also said probably it's a hangover.
It's a possibility. Ask me tomorrow. I'll see if I give the same answer without any hangover.
No, but I think it's a good spot to be in, where you feel like I wanted to say something and I wanted to deliver something, and I did deliver that. It's not that you don't care about what people think, because you would like people to listen in and let you know what they feel about the project, but you feel like you're satisfied that you delivered the album that you always wanted to deliver as your debut album.
Yeah, like hand on heart, I can honestly say that, I mean, look, I'm an artist, we're all sensitive out here, and we all want validation from other people, and we all want people to like our work. I'd be lying if I said I don't want people to like it. Of course I do, but hand on heart, I can say that I really love this album, and whether people like it or whether they don't, it's not going to change the love I have for it. And it is exactly the album that I set out to make, and what I visualized in my head is what this album is, and it means a lot to me. And that's how, I feel in a good headspace about that.
Oh, yeah, amazing. So it's been good having you on the show, and definitely can't wait to keep on, playing some of the songs of the album. And, that is on the Egypt Mix Show, guys, 1 to 2 p.m. East African time. That's when we get to do that. No talking, more of the music. So much better that. And also Saturdays, 11 to 1 p.m. East African time. That's when we have the sport radio show, which we get a few songs from the Egypt Mix Show and have them on every Saturday. That is from 11 to 1. So thank you so much, Sonia, for coming on the show, and it's been great catching up again.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great seeing you again. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what happens next. Maybe a jazz album or jazz EP.
Yeah, that's not off the cards. It's definitely a possibility for the future.
Yeah, and the interesting part is I don't drink, but I would like to know, how does hangover feel?
It's gone now. I feel absolutely fine. Hangovers, that depends how much you drank the night before. That would be my answer to that. It really depends what you've been drinking.
Yeah. I think that's very important. So guys, definitely been good having you on the show. The Extreme BPM, Tuesdays and Fridays 8 p.m. East African time. Until next time, absolutely nothing left for you.